This is Danielle Weber, and you're listening to Live and Loud with the Lord. Nelson, that is.
Yes! First time, perfect.
I nailed it. Even Alessandra's like, yeah, you did.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, you know who it is. It's the big guy with the big show, the Lord. Nelson, that is. Yes, indeed. From the podcast Live and Loud with the Lord on the CMS network with Five Royals Entertainment. And ladies and gentlemen, you see this young man right here. You see this handsome face over there. My next guest is really, he's a really special dude. And just like always, I have to, talk about him a little bit before we get into the music. Yes, indeed. So ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is a talented guitarist and musician and one of the great human beings I know. He's like a big brother to me and one whose opinion I truly value. There are certain people in life that you gain knowledge and wisdom from, and he has blessed me with respect and a family bond that is deeper than music. Yes, indeed. I am thankful and grateful to have him bless my show with his presence. And without further ado, I welcome for you the marvelous Mike Wainscott. Yeah. What's going on, young man?
Oh, man, those are some kind words. You are way too kind.
Hey, listen, I'm just speaking the truth. This is how I feel about you, man. I'm a big emotional person, man, but I just thank you so much. I really, really do, man. So we're going to get into this and we're going to talk about this music going on with you. So I always like to start off. The first question I ask everybody is, where are you from, young man?
Well, I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
2 weeks after I was born, we moved to Columbia, and I've been here ever since.
Really?
So I'm a native Colombian.
Yes, indeed. I got you. So what's the best thing about being from Columbia? South Carolina, that is, ladies and gentlemen. Okay.
Yeah. So, I used to travel a bunch for business. Mm-hmm. And loved a lot of the places I got to go. So, some of the big cities, LA, Boston, DC, Philadelphia, right. Chicago. And if you're from Columbia and South Carolina, you love to gripe about it, about all the stuff that's bad. But I tell you, every time I'd go on a trip, I always looked forward to getting back home because I 100%. Love living here. 100%. And Columbia is one of those cities. It's big enough to have some big time things to do around town, but mm-hmm. not so big that you're overwhelmed with the crowd.
Right.
It's a big time city with a small town feel.
I love that. I really love that. No doubt. It is. It really is. I was just telling my wife, so the guys that I have on the episode that's going on right now, they're from Massachusetts. And they said the same thing. Like when they leave, and then they come back, it just feels so good. And so no matter where I've been, I've been a few places, overseas and everything, beautiful places everywhere. But there's nothing like being home, man. It's nothing like being here, man. And Columbia is a great place. It really is. It really is indeed. So in the early years, what was the predominant genre of music that was played in your household?
So when I was probably 7 or 8, 9 years old, my mom joined the Columbia Record Club. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, of course.
I forget how much it cost, but
a penny.
but you got an album a month. They would mail an album to you, and she always let me pick the albums. And so a lot of the early stuff that I was picking was the Beatles.
Got you. Yeah.
And, you had some of the other British groups that were around as well that were a little more mellow, like Chad and Jeremy. Mm-hmm. And then you had the Rolling Stones, which I never was a huge Stones fan. I think I've come to appreciate them more later in life than I did, when they first hit the scene. Right. Those guys have got some staying power like nobody else.
Yes, they do.
But then when I got into, in my high school years, I got into Santana, Jethro Tull. I had an eclectic taste. Yes. Grand Funk Railroad.
Right.
Alice Cooper. Mm-hmm. Chicago. some of those were the bands that I listened to.
Of course. Oh no! Listen, awesome, and you just saying those things, and there's certain songs that are on this album that I'm just like, I hear the influences, which is amazing to me. So I'm just like, I'm telling you, I really enjoyed this whole album. I listened to it all the way up to North Carolina where I was going, listened to it all the way back, and I was just like, man, I'm just enjoying it so much. It really, really made me feel a certain way. Not that it was just you, because of course it's you. But it really made me feel a way. I think it has really, really something special going on that people really need to hear. And so now I'm going to go to the left a little bit here. So now I know that you can play basketball. And you have a beautiful jump shot. I'll never forget it. So were you into sports as well as music in your teens?
Yeah. So interesting. My uncle, who's 11 years older than me, and he was almost like my big brother as opposed to being my uncle. He played basketball.
Right.
And I distinctly remember coming home one evening, and my uncle and my granddad were watching a South Carolina basketball game. And this was back in the heyday when John Rhodes, John Ribach, Bobby Carver, and all those guys were playing for the Gamecocks.
Right.
And they just had a killer team.
Yeah.
And I got interested in basketball. And so I went out and found, some kids playing sandlot basketball and just started joining in, learning the game.
Yeah.
And my biggest problem was that I was under tall. I think if I'd been 6'4", I might have actually been able to play college ball.
Right.
But, 5'9", 10, 11, it wasn't happening. But I always enjoyed playing till I messed my knees up.
No, listen, I just remember, when we played together, and I can just remember, let me tell you a story. You probably don't remember this, but I remember this very clearly, right? So I'm not, I just had size to me, I wasn't great like, some of the other ones like Gerald and James and all those other guys, but I can remember we were in a close game and it came down where it was going to be the last shot. You looked at everybody in that huddle and you said, we're going to get the ball down to you, right? I was just like, oh my God. But I wasn't nervous or scared. It was just like, it caught me off guard. And I can just remember Gerald and James and Dina were looking like, are you serious? But it came in how they were on me. It went to somebody else, but we got it. We scored, and it was love, man. But I'll never forget that, though. But I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
You were the big man.
I was the big man. That was
always go to your bigs.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate it. I'll never forget it, ever. Branded in the middle for life. So, can you recall that moment when music truly became a part of you?
I think again, going back to when my mom let me start ordering all those albums, I think that was when music really got into my soul.
Right.
There's a funny story. We were living in a little duplex apartment, just me and mom. Mm-hmm. And of course, I loved listening to this music, and I couldn't play an instrument at the time, but I could play air guitar.
Right.
So I actually made a cardboard guitar, and we had this big front porch, and I would put the stereo on in the background, and I'd stand out on that front porch acting like I was playing my guitar, and all the little neighbor kids would sit around and watch me play air guitar.
Really?
Looking back on it now, it's like, dude, that was pretty dumb, but we had a great time. It was fun.
No, that wasn't dumb. That was a part of you growing up and feeling that you really felt the music, and that's beautiful. It really is, man, because it just shows your creativeness. That's an amazing thing, though, because I picture everything. So I picture that whole thing with the kids being out or whatever like that. So I see it. So was guitar the instrument that gave you a feeling like no other?
Yeah, and it was definitely the instrument that I was easiest able to adapt to. I look at woodwinds and I look at like sax players and all. Right. And I had one of my best friends was a saxophone player in the high school band or in the junior high band. Mm-hmm. And I would look at the way they were playing the keys on the saxophone. I'm thinking, that just looks way too complicated to me. I don't want anything to do with that. And so, yeah, 6 strings, I can understand this. I can figure this out.
Indeed. Now I know that my bandmate Matt Acevedo from Plastic Catastrophe with Lord Nelson, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. He and his wife gifted me a guitar, and so when I first got it, it was just like, I mean, it's beautiful. He signed it and everything. It's just lovely because he has so many guitars. And so I started playing and looking, and I was just like, this is way more difficult than I thought it was. You know, I'm doing certain things and it's just so basic. And I was just like, wow. So it just gave me another respect for what you guys do as far as playing that. You know, really, it takes a lot of practice to be good at it. And you know, on this album, you really showcase a lot of that what you do about how good you are playing guitar and other instruments. So how many different bands have you played in? I know that you played in like with is it Mark Foy that you played with back then?
I played with Marv Ward. That was probably the last band that I was in. I did either 12 or 13 years playing with the Reverend Marv Ward and the Blues Disciples. We did, right. It was straight up blues. Before that, years before that, I had a little Christian band. We were doing progressive Christian music before progressive Christian music became cool.
Right.
So back in the 80s, the early 80s, probably 1982, we released an album of original music, and it was a band called Latter Rain. I've actually got some vinyl. I don't know if I've ever given you a copy of that.
No, you haven't.
I'll make sure you get one.
Indeed.
I mean, the album came out really, really well. In fact, I was at a kind of a crossroads in my life at that time. I had landed the job at Blue Cross, and we were pregnant with our first kid, and I got offered a record contract.
Wow.
And at this time, most of my musician friends had moved to Nashville. And I was the only one that stayed behind, me and the guy that was my bass player in my band. And he really wanted to go full time, which meant we probably were going to move to Nashville. We actually had 2 offers for record contracts.
Wow.
And I had to make a decision. And I knew that if I accepted that contract and moved to Nashville, I was going to be on the road 50% of the time, because you got to market your product. Even though it's Christian music, you still got to market it.
Of course.
And I made the command decision that, no, I'm going to stay in Columbia. I'm going to stay with this steady, 8 to 5 job,
right?
Because I can support a family like that. And I really didn't want to be on the road 50% of the time, be away from my family.
Indeed.
And to me, that was just not a way to raise children.
Right.
And so, that be that as it may, that was the decision I made. And I think I made the right decision.
Of course you did. And it just kind of mirrors me in a way, not the contract or whatever, but before I got with Stuck Mojo, just out there doing my thing. But, I had a family, I had children. And so that was the most important thing to me. Even though I love music so much and I can never let it go, it's just a part of me. But I understand what you're saying there. I know that I made the decision because everybody was like, you need to move to New York, you need to move to LA, you're so talented and whatever. I was just like, man, I got this family, man, this beautiful wife, I have children. I was like, no, I can't do that. I want to raise my children properly, man. So you did a great job, and I'm thankful and grateful for the opportunities that I had to, raise my children. I really am. So what is it about music that truly excites you?
So for me, music is a cathartic experience. When I'm sad, first thing I do is I come up into the studio, whether I'm recording or not, just the studio is where all my guitars are. And I'll pick up the guitar and just start playing. I may not play anything of any, thing that anybody want to listen to. May just play instrumentally. I may get a couple of words. I may just start pouring my heart out to God, right, with my instrument. But it lets me have that emotional release that I think people really need. It's I think God gave us music as a gift to express emotion. And so when you're in those emotional situations, that's the first place I run.
Listen, Music I'm telling you, to me, is just the greatest thing in the world. And I like to, when I can just get into my vehicle and just drive and just listen to music. And, I get emotional about certain things. To me, music is a time machine. It's the greatest time machine because it can take you back to times that were just so beautiful. There's times that I'm playing music that I'm thinking about my mother, and knowing she's been gone since 85, but it's like she's still right there. And it just brings back good feelings. Sometimes it brings sad feelings. Sometimes I'm crying as I'm driving because I'm thinking about those, back then, because I could just see it so well or see her so well. But music is the greatest thing in the world to me. I love it. I love it. I love it. I like to listen to it loud sometimes. As you say, you were saying eclectic earlier, but I can listen to everything. If it's hot, it's hot. That's all I know. I don't care what genre it is. If it sounds good to me, that's what it is, and I love to listen to it. So I love, love, love music. So I'm gonna ask you this, or I'm gonna say this right here. So your son, Joel Starr, as I like to call him, as I affectionately call him, he picked up a guitar and followed in your footsteps. So how did that make you feel when he was doing his thing?
It's a good feeling when your child wants to emulate you doing anything, right, as long as it's the good stuff, Yes. And Joel actually got pretty good at guitar too. He was in a little band. It was a punk rock band,
right?
And I remember going to see him on stage once. I think they were playing at New Brooklyn Tavern,
yes.
And I had never seen him in his stage presence. And you know what I'm talking about. It's like the alter ego takes over. So he's up there just grooving on the guitar. He's doing his little shredding thing. And then all of a sudden it was time for him to sing his lines.
Right.
He was doing backup vocals. Uh-huh. And he steps up to the microphone and his face contorts and you see the muscles in his neck and he's just screaming out his lyrics. And I'm thinking, wow, that's a nice stage presence. That's awesome. He is really into this.
Right, indeed. No, I kind of wish he would have continued doing it, because he really was. He was good at it, and just seeing them grow and seeing those pictures from Edify when he used to show me, I was just like, Joel, this is wild, man. Look at your hair, dude. Yeah, it was awesome. The stage presence was great, no doubt about it. So, this album to me is an updated modern version of that amazing singer-songwriter era that will bring listening pleasure forever. So was this your plan?
I don't think I've ever really got a plan. Mm-hmm. In fact, the name of the album is Scratchpad.
Right.
Well, the name came from the name of the folder that I had on my PC. These were just songs that I started out with, just some musical ideas. And I said, I need to file these somewhere. So I created a folder called Scratchpad.
Okay.
Didn't really intend on making an album out of them. They were just some musical ideas. And then I started fleshing the ideas out. And I'd be eating my dinner or in the shower or something. I'd start thinking about one of the songs and thinking about another part that I could put with the song, like, a keyboard part or, an organ part. Mm-hmm. And so I'd go up in the studio and I'd spend a few hours recording those parts because I'm never a one-take wonder. You wouldn't believe how many takes I have to go through before I actually get something that is good enough.
Right.
And that's not because I'm striving for perfection. It's because it just got to be good enough.
I understand.
So, that's how it started out. There wasn't any particular plan. When I was going through my divorce, mm-hmm. I wrote a whole album about that. And again, kind of circling back to this whole cathartic experience, when you're going through a divorce, there's sadness, there's anger, there's emotion, there's hurt, and eventually there's healing. Mm-hmm. And I let somebody listen to most of these songs that are on that album that will never get released. And the guy said, man, that makes me want to cut my wrists. There was just so much anger in there, and it was bottled up anger that I had, mm-hmm. whether for a good reason or not.
Right.
But I got it out by writing this album.
Of course.
There's a couple of good songs on there that will eventually see the light of day, but they'll be on a different project. But again, that whole cathartic experience of that cleansing experience of it's almost like talking to a counselor but you're by yourself. And, again, recording the project was the energy that went into that was also something that was very therapeutic for me. The next album that's going to be coming out is called Layers. And that's because it was recorded in layers, and it was really recorded before Scratchpad.
Okay.
But I never could get it exactly where I wanted it. That album is going to be probably 98.9% blues.
Okay.
It's kind of going back to the roots with the Reverend Marv Ward, that whole blues band that I played with for so many years. I love blues music. It's there's something simple yet incredibly deep about the blues. And people think that the blues is just about being sad. That is not true.
Right.
It's about life.
It's about life.
And sadness is a part of life, but also joy.
Yes.
And there's actually some songs on that project that I really do like. So I'm looking forward to releasing that. It's probably going to start dropping around June.
Okay.
But I'm going to do a waterfall drop on that. We drop Scratchpad just as one whole unit. We'll do the waterfall on Layers, where we're dropping one song a month.
I got you.
For 10 months, and then we'll drop the whole project as a package.
Well, now I'm looking forward to that coming out also. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say, this is really a great project. You will enjoy it. You will take the time to listen and love it. And just the titles and the lyrics and the arrangement and orchestration, his musicianship, all of it is amazing. It really is. You will enjoy this album. And even, let me say, some of the topics, and even when some of them are a little somber, but you still don't feel that way. The music keeps you in a certain place. It keeps me in a certain place, let me say that, to where it's just a good feeling. Even when you're speaking about something, we're going to get your track list in a moment, but just speaking about the things that you're singing about and talking about, it still feels good. The music still makes you feel good. So it's a great listen from start to finish. It's a great listen. So how long did it take you to complete this album, since you decided to Prince Rogers Nelson it, meaning play all the instruments? How long did it take you to do this?
I think from the time I created that first file in the Scratchpad folder until the time I actually uploaded the files to CD Baby was probably about a year and a half.
Okay.
It took quite a while.
Yeah.
Again, you get musical ideas, you drop them in, maybe you like them, maybe you don't. You go back and redo them. Again, it takes me a lot of takes for each instrument to get things to where, you as the listener are not going to be offended by my musicianship. I'm not a great musician. I think I'm an adequate musician for what I do, but nobody's going to be giving me any jobs playing on stage with Eric Clapton or Carlos Santana. I'm just not that quality of a musician. So I make do, but it does take me a while. It's about a year and a half.
I'm listening to him, ladies and gentlemen. I don't feel that way. I have respect for all musicians, and I know you're giving me your point of view of how you feel. But I just want to say once again, this is a great listen, and I think you did an amazing job. So was it a difficult process or a more enjoyable one, since it was all on you?
So again, I wouldn't do this if I didn't love doing it. It's just fun. Right. Everybody needs a hobby in retirement, and this is my hobby.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it's kind of like my career. I was in IT for, 41 years at Blue Cross with you.
Right.
And I worked for state government in IT for 5 years before I got to Blue Cross. So pretty long IT career.
Right.
And I used to tell people the definition of success in the business world is to find something that you love to do and then get somebody to pay you to do it. And that was me in my IT career.
Right.
So this is me in my retirement. This is something I love to do. So while sometimes I spend a lot of hours and you get pretty tired working in the studio doing multiple takes of stuff and experimenting around, when you finally get to that finished product, it's worth all of the hours that you put into it. When you finally, it's like baking a souffle, man. Once you finally get that final product out and you get to stick the fork in it and taste the first bite, it's real satisfying.
So listen, you said a few things I want to touch on. So you said hobby, right? So I always say this. I was like, the other thing we do for money, that's the hobby. This is the real career. My wife was always like, why do you say that? I was just like, that's how I feel. The other thing is for the money, so we can live and do what we need to do. But this is really the career we want. So it's just my thing. She always looks at me like, she just shakes her head. I was like, but I'm serious though. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go down the track list and have you delve into them so we can catch that feeling of where your mental was when creating this awesome album, if you don't mind.
Sure thing, man.
So let's talk about Just Be Happy.
So a lot of these songs, there's not a whole lot of depth to them. I can be an emotional person at times.
I understand. And
Just Be Happy, I was just sitting in my living room, looking out the window one hot summer afternoon, and a breeze apparently came by, and I just saw the leaves on one of my hardwood trees in the backyard, just kind of waving and wiggling.
Right.
And I just had this wave of happiness that came over me. And I started thinking, you don't have to plan things in order to be happy. You can just be happy if you let yourself be happy.
Yes, sir.
How many times do we get wrapped up in stuff and forbid ourselves from being happy because we're just kind of wrapped up in the details of life? And it's really not that complicated. You can just relax. Most of the time, I tell people, nothing's ever as good as it seems, but nothing's ever as bad as it seems.
That's right.
And so that's kind of where that song came from. It was just had a wave of happiness that came over me. I said, a lot of times happiness can be a choice.
100%. Indeed.
So,
and I think
it's a simple song.
No, but it says it all. You say simple, but I think that a lot of times those simple songs make the best songs because, you don't have to sit there and try to like, oh, let me figure this out. Let me see what this is, or let me see what they're trying to say, when it's just for the palate of the consumer. Most people like something that's a little bit easier. They like it so they can listen to it and sing back with it. And so listen, Love, amazing song. I enjoyed it a great deal. You talking about the leaves and what do you say, rolling through as you said. Listen, I'm telling you, man, this amazing song. I enjoyed it. Now, Patty Podium. Listen, it is stuck in my head so much that I just kept singing it because once again, I am so visual. So I could see it. I could see everything. I see everything you're talking about. So tell me about Podium Patty.
So Patty was married to one of our good friends, Ken and Patty Loudon. They were older than us. I think Ken and Patty were probably 9 or 10 years older than me. Mm-hmm. And Patty was part of our running community. We had a huge running community back in the day. We had probably 100 people that would do group runs with us.
Yeah.
And we'd compete in local races. And Patty, she got the nickname Podium Patty because every time she would race, she would win her age group. Mm. She'd run a 5K, 10K, whatever. We just knew she was going to be on the podium and usually on the top rung of the podium. Yeah. And so that's how she got the nickname. Well, as fate would have it, a number of years ago, Patty came down with cancer. Mm. And, it was non-responsive to treatment. And so we all knew that she was going to be passing. And I just felt like I wanted to write a song for her to commemorate the person that she was. She was a wife. She was a mother. Mm-hmm. She was a swimmer. She was a cyclist. She was a runner. And then in her later years, she took up stand-up paddling. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen any of the SUP folks. So I had to throw that in there as well. She was a real inspiration to people that, I mean, she just was like the Energizer Bunny,
Right.
and just a real solid person. And so I wanted to write that. And I did a little a solo, just me and a guitar, and recorded a little video for her, put it on a CD and gave it to her husband, Ken, before she passed. So she got to actually hear the song and see a little video of me performing it.
Awesome.
And that was special for me to be able to do that with her.
Of course. And no, it's just, once again, even though it's a somber thing, it doesn't feel that way. It's just like it's happy still, because you're speaking about her and the good things about her and the things that she's done. And now, man, it's an enjoyable song, and it's really catchy, man. I love that one also, man. But thank you for going into detail.
I had the privilege of performing that song at Patty's funeral, and there was a group of folks that would go outside her hospital window every weekend and just cheer her up from the window.
Right.
Called them Patty's Squad, and they all brought tambourines and stuff to the funeral. And during the chorus of that song, they all started singing along and playing
right
their little tambourines with it. And it turned out to be a celebration for Patty, which awesome. I think she probably looked down from heaven and smiled at that.
No doubt about it. No, another great song indeed. Now, Summer Rain. Talk to me about this.
Again, this is another one of those looking out the window inspiration songs. Again, most of the time you don't like rain, but there was just something one morning. I think I had just finished eating my breakfast, and I got this nice window by my island that I can look out into the backyard, and just had that, not that torrential downpour that sometimes we get in Columbia, but just that real gentle, light rain.
Yes.
It cools things off just a little bit, and brings that smell. You know the smell I'm talking about.
Yes, indeed.
That rain smell. So I kind of opened the back door and I looked out and caught that aroma, and again got that wave of inspiration to write a song about it. Again, a very simple song, but it made me happy.
Hey, another great one, a great listen. All of these are great listen. There's no doubt about it, man. Yeah.
So that's actually my favorite song on the album.
So listen, it's a great one. I mean, really, it is. It is. Now, The Bus of Life. Talk to me about this one.
That's kind of an assessment of, I've lived a few years, and you look around and you realize just how frenetic life can be. You and I have been through that in our work life, crisis mode,
right?
Bringing the car up out of the ditch, if you will, in the data center, and just looking at people running around and around and around and around, and then when you get to a certain age, I guess I don't know what it is that kicks in, that you have the ability to kind of take a step back,
right,
and not get so caught up in life that you can. It's almost like you're a casual observer of all the franticness going on around you. And so that's what that song is about. It's like, I'm a little bit older here. I'm going to take a couple of steps back and enjoy the view of everybody else running around. I'm not going to get caught up in that. And I guess maybe that's probably my retirement song too. I'm stepping out of the workforce. I'm gonna look at things from a different perspective now.
Indeed. Yeah, but another one. I enjoyed the lyrics because, I'm a writer. So I'm really listening to the lyrics and just feeling certain things. It was just like, okay, I get it. I really do. I get it. Now, The Journey.
The Journey is one of those songs that I actually, it took me a while to record this because I'd get halfway through the vocals and I'd start getting choked up. The object or the character in this song, I wrote it from the perspective of a husband losing his wife, but it was only because I needed characters to flesh things out around.
Right.
There's actually a little bit of me watching my mother go through her death process in here. I drew on some other friends that were married that had lost their wives and how they had to watch that process.
Right.
So really that's what that song is all about. It's, it's the love of your life, or the person that you have a great deal of love for. Like in the case of my mother, my mom and I had a great relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really sad thing to watch her go through that,
Right.
but I was there with her the whole time. But there's still that sense of loss of a person that means so much to you.
Yes.
And so I tried to capture that in the song. You get to a point where you've cried so much that there's no more tears left to cry. And it's about that journey that in advance they're heading on that journey to be with God.
Right.
And they're going to leave. And it's just how you react to it. It's kind of looking at that. It's focusing in on the person that's having to watch the person that's going to die.
Right.
Basically their story.
No, I understand it well. I was young, right after I graduated from high school, my mom passed, and, I had older siblings. So my younger sister and we were with her. She died of colon cancer, and man, I can remember her first telling us, I've only got 6 months to live. And, that was difficult, because she's everything. And then to be with her, and really, I was taking care of her, my younger sister and I, and just to see her go through all of that, man, it was bananas. So I hear you. So that song, when I'm listening to it, it means really something. It means something to me. So I'm feeling you. So I feel what you're saying in that song. I really do. So yeah. So now time goes by. Listen, I'm laughing at time goes by because I'm just.
So this is actually, of course, a few years have gone by since I wrote that song. It was the year that my daughter was turning 40 years old, and I was reflecting on her as a baby, and as a little toddler, and then it was a little critter. And then, as in her preteens, and then her teens, and then now all of a sudden she's 40 years old.
Yes.
And just thinking about, some of this, like the lyrics say, he bounced her on her knee and watched her go outside to play. We had some characters in the house. There was a little rabbit we named Melly Rabbit. Yeah. And we read Dr. Seuss like most parents do to their kids.
Right.
And it was a character. I refer to the Daddy Crab.
Daddy Crab.
But I actually had a little rap song that I would sing, and it was the lyrics were, "Look out now, here's the Daddy Crab, and he's looking for a tickle spot on you he can grab. It may be your armpit, it may be your side, then he'll run around the corner, and from you he will hide." Of course, I'd be doing the doom, the doom, 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 doom. And they would hear that, and they would know that I was getting ready to come after them with a picture. And I would tickle them, and they would just cackle.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Then we had another character that's referred to in the song, the creature under the blanket. They used to love, Elizabeth and Joel used to love for me to throw a blanket over myself and try to catch them. They'd run around me in a circle, and I'd try to reach out underneath the blanket and grab their ankle or whatever.
Right.
And little kids, the entertainment is so simple, and they would just laugh till they would fall down.
Oh my goodness. I understand so clearly, because I did the same thing with my children, and even like my grandson. Oh my gosh, he thinks I'm so hilarious. But it's just the small things that we do. We get in there, I sing and I rap and I do stuff, and he just looks, and I put his name in everything. I don't care what it is we're talking about. I'm going to put his name in it. And he just looks at me and he just thinks it's the most amazing thing in the world. So no, I get it. That's awesome. That's awesome. So now, ulterior motives.
This is a interesting song. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever been in a conversation with somebody or been in a situation with somebody or somebodies or whatever, and you get kind of blindsided by the direction that the conversation takes.
Right.
When you were heading in one direction, and whether the person thought it was heading in another direction, they come back at you with something.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, you walk away from that encounter and you think, what the hell just happened?
Right.
And you're just totally confused as it, how did I end up here
Mm-hmm.
when I thought I was heading over here?
Right.
And so that pure and simple, that's like, do these folks have an ulterior motive why they're taking this thing in this direction? Or what is going on here? That's really all this is. And it's supposed to be a straight ahead rock and roll song. It's got the little Jimi Hendrix E7 chord in there, and which I love.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
Listen, all these songs are great, man. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, all of these songs are a great listen. The Lord would not lie to you. I mean, the real Lord and God, but also Nelson is not lying to you. So the next one is Vallejo. Talk to me about that one.
This song, actually, I probably should have put more lyrics in this to flesh it out a little bit better, but it was just a little quick ditty that I wrote about growing up.
Uh-huh.
We moved to Vallejo Circle in Columbia when I was 5 years old, I believe,
mm-hmm.
and spent most of my adolescence there. I think we moved away from there when I was in the middle of high school.
Right.
But my mom and I lived with my grandparents
mm-hmm.
and my uncle for most of my young adult life.
Right.
Growing up. And we just had a household that was really full of love. And I wanted to write something about them because that's really where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
And they're largely responsible for the person that I am because of the way that I was treated in my home.
Right.
My granddad was my father figure,
mm-hmm.
just a real solid man. Never heard him raise his voice one time.
Really?
But he had a quiet authority. Yeah, one time my uncle, we were at the dinner table and my uncle said something like, I think he said something to my granddad that he wasn't going to do something. My granddad just lifted up his finger and he didn't raise his voice at all. He said, let me tell you one thing. As long as your feet are under my table, you're going to do what I say.
Right.
And my uncle said, yes, sir. And my grandma was just a phenomenal. She was one of those old school cooks. She
mm-hmm.
could cook anything. And of course, the lyrics are, she made the best fried chicken in the whole world. She really did. My aunt that lives up in Philly, she's got the recipe and she has tried and tried. I don't know whether grandma was dipping her finger into the egg stuff or what, but nobody could make fried chicken like that one. I've had some good fried chicken, but nothing like what she made.
Grandma.
So, it was just a little song about them and about growing up there and the love that was in our home. I was between my mother and my grandparents, my uncle. I was raised to believe that I could do anything, that I could make anything out of myself I wanted to. Just a household full of love and acceptance. Awesome. That was, and it meant a lot to me. So I wanted to write a tune about that.
Of course, no, great one. Because just like you said, Grandma made the best chicken. So it's just like, I can just see her like in the kitchen, just cooking, doing things when you get home from church and everything. So it's just, it was awesome.
Oh man, that I think about that now, and I can still smell that chicken. That memory comes up right now.
Those phantom smells, man. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So I will see you again, my friend. Talk to me about this one.
So this is about a friend of ours, again, someone from the running community, John Hancock, who was a war hero. He flew A-10s over in Vietnam.
Yeah.
The guy I think he was awarded the Silver Star twice.
Mm-hmm.
A running buddy, good friend, just solid man. Again, I think he was probably about 9 or 10 years older than me.
Right.
He developed cancer. I think it came from either colon or stomach cancer. And again, in that situation where you knew death was imminent,
yes,
we went up to visit him. They had built a house up in Franklin, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went up to visit him on a Thursday. And it actually, as it turns out, it was the Thursday before he passed away on the Saturday.
Wow.
So we spent the day with him and just kind of reminisced, went over, fun things we had done together. And I got him to talk about his military service, which he never did. He was a very humble individual.
Mm-hmm.
But we laughed and we'd cry, and sometimes it'd be at the same time. Just thinking about things. And this song is about him, and my Christian belief that there is an afterlife, that there's a place where we go after we pass away,
mm-hmm.
and just that. Yep, God may have called your last call and called you up to heaven, but I'll see you again, brother.
See you again, indeed. No, great lyrics, and I get it, and I love it. Just once again, you say simple, but I think that the simplicity of it makes it so meaningful because you get to the point, and that's why I think this is just really great. I really, really enjoyed this, man. So now, the last one on there is Summer Rain, but it's the acoustic where you just doing your thing, man. So tell me why you wanted to go and do an acoustic one of this.
So a number of bands back in the early 2000s, they would do alternative mixes of their songs on their albums, and
right.
I wanted to round the album out with 10 tunes.
Mm-hmm.
And like I told you, that Summer Rain is my favorite song
right.
of all of them. And I said, I just want to do one that's kind of raw, that's not over processed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have all the background harmonies and the stuff in there. So I'll just do a couple of layered guitars and just my vocal, and maybe put a doubler on the vocal to fatten it up a little bit. But it's
right.
it's a very simple song. To tell you how much I enjoy this song, I actually recorded another version of it
mm-hmm.
just this year.
Right.
It's another acoustic version, but I decided I was going to put all the background harmonies and a few extra lyrics in it. And
mm-hmm.
It's just because I like the song so much. I love playing it. It's an easy song to play.
Right.
It's easy on the ears. And again, it kind of gets back to the simple things that make me happy, like just a summer rain.
No, and it's once again, it sounds great. And then you kind of like beating on the guitar a little bit, like where it's a little drum thing you're doing. I'm telling you, it's just awesome, man. It's just really, really, really good. So I want to say this. I've known you since I was 18 years old, and I've always had the utmost respect for you because you've always shown me a level of respect, even though I was young and finding my way in this world, no matter what situation arose in the business we were in, you always had a resolution for the issue. You were always the guy to call, I was just talking with somebody the other day. I was just like, Mike was always the guy to call, no matter what. We didn't call this person or that person. It was always calling Mike. So, and you took pride in the way, you handled business in the most intelligent and proficient way. And you were the Michael Jordan of the team. Yes, indeed. I can say that and mean it. And so with this new album you have released, Scratch Pad, it speaks volumes of that go get it attitude. I've always admired about you. And I thank you once again for taking the time to spend some time with me. I really, really do. I enjoyed this album. You got some things in there, just like I said, Santana. I hear like some Carpenters type things to me. Then you got two songs where, the country aspect of it is strong in there. It's very strong. And I was just like, this is just great. It's great. It's great feeling music. It makes you feel good through the whole album. You really, really feel good. And I applaud you on what you've done. And, I want people to really get out here and listen to this. So my last question always is, what was the last song you listened to?
The last song I listened to?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lord. Probably Summer Rain.
Summer Rain. Not like listen to our own music. I always tell people I ask that question because we as creatives, there's no telling what we listen to. A lot of times people just think you're stuck in one genre of what you do. But no, we like music. We love music. So we listen to a lot of things. So now that's a great thing. So the floor is yours. Why don't you tell these amazing people who are watching or listening where they can pick up your music and check you out?
So Scratchpad is on all the major streaming platforms. In fact, it's probably on all the minor streaming platforms too. So Spotify, YouTube. If you want to just listen to it for free, go out to YouTube Music, Apple Music, iTunes. It's everywhere.
Awesome, man. Well, look, I just appreciate it. We're looking forward to the next one that's coming out. What did you say the next one was going to be called?
It'll be Layers.
Layers.
Because it was recorded in layers.
In layers. And when do you think this is going to be out?
I'm going to probably drop the first tune in June.
In June. Okay.
And then we'll do a drop of one tune every month for 10 months. Then we'll drop the full project.
Got you. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can get acclimated with Scratchpad so you can hear the amazing Mr. Mike Wainscott and enjoy yourself. And you will enjoy yourself. I'm telling you, you will enjoy yourself listening to this amazing music. So, once again, ladies and gentlemen, it is yours truly, the Lord Nelson, that is. Yes, indeed. For the podcast, Live and Loud with the Lord on the CMS network with Five Royals Entertainment. I didn't say the big guy with the big show, but you see how handsome I am. So it is the big guy with the big show. With my very, very, very special guest, family, the amazing, and marvelous Mr. Mike Wainscott. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, young man.
Thank you, brother. I love you bunches.
Yes, indeed.
Turn it up. You're listening to Live and Loud with the Lord Nelson, that is.